ओके The following figures are extracted from the trial balance of Vascan Company on 30th September. The inventory is finished stock. Finished stock is 80,000 raw materials and then work in progress is office appliances, plant and machinery, building sales, furniture, sales returns and rebate. The material purchased material purchase freight incurred on the materials purchase return direct labor indirect labor the factory supervision repairs and the upkeep factory heat light and power rates and taxes miscellaneous factory expenses sales commission sales traveling then the sales promotion the distribution of the department salaries distribution department salaries and expenses office salaries and expenses interest on the borrowed funds and the further details are hello guys welcome to the session. Okay. The closing inventory finished goods is this raw material work in progress, accrued expenses on direct labor, indirect labor, interest on the borrowed funds, and the depreciation on the provided office appliances, plant and machinery, building. 4% distribution of the following costs: heat, light, and power to the factory, office, and distribution in the ratio. Okay, rates and taxes to third factory, one third office, and the depreciation on the building and to factory building to factory office and distribution in the ratio 8 is to 1 is to 1. The statement showing the cost of the elements and the statement of the profit. Opening stock of the raw material add raw material purchase opening stock of the raw material add raw material purchase less closing stock of the raw material add the carriage inward insurance on the transport of the raw material less the purchase return less scrap value of the raw material direct raw material consumed direct raw material consumed इसमें ऐड करेंगे डायरेक्ट वेजेस लेबर इनकर्ड ऑन प्रोडक्शन ऑफ वेजेस ऑन प्रोडक्शन वेजेस add direct expenses incurred add direct expenses incurred chargeable expenses that is prime cost and the factory overheads electricity rent factory overheads में prime cost आ जाएगा raw material consumed इसमें direct labor wages direct expenses incurred chargeable expenses then factory overheads electricity rent chargeable expenses raw material um, then opening work in progress less closing work in progress net factory cost prime cost net factory cost में quality research and development cost quality control cost primary packing cost administrative overheads related to production then the scrap value by product defective would be subtracted scrap value the cost of the production finished goods manufacture cost of the production इन सबको ऐड करने के बाद cost of production then less closing stock of the finished goods add opening stock of the finished goods cost of the goods sold cost of production में ओपनिंग क्लोजिंग स्टॉक ऑफ फिनिश गुड्स एंड ओपनिंग स्टॉक ऑफ फिनिश गुड्स तो आ जाएगा हमारा कॉस्ट ऑफ द गुड्स सोल्ड फिनिश गुड्स सोल्ड देन द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ओवरहेड्स selling and distribution overheads the cost of the sales then it will become the cost of the sales माइनस करेंगे प्रॉफिट तो हमारा आ जाएगा sales. The points to remember: the employee labor cost is, it includes the wages and the salaries. Wages and salaries, overtime, bonus, allowances, perquisite, employer contribution to provident fund, ESI, any other benefits. Now, direct labor cost, production wages, indirect labor cost related to power, factory overheads, related to staff, administrative overheads, related to the salesman, delivery, distribution overheads, selling and distribution overhead, direct expenses, cost of the utilities such as power, fuel, steam, etc. Royalty for the production of the goods and the services, fee for the technical know-how, fees for the technical know-how, cost of the product, services, specific design or drawing. Then the other expenses which are directly related to the production: amortized cost, raw material, amortized cost of the molds, dyes, and the patents, etc. Loss gain, the normal loss charge to the consumer, reduce the quantity by the normal loss, and thereby further unit increase, and abnormal charge to the owner, transfer to the costing P&L, abnormal loss, normal cost into abnormal units. The certain expenses which do not form a part of the cost sheet: the loss on the sale of the fixed asset of the fixed asset investment, then the loss on the fire, flood, theft, then the goodwill, return of preliminary expenses, return of penalty for the damages, donation, and then income tax. Work is equals to factory overheads is equals to factory work overheads, work cost is equals to net factory cost, work cost is equals to net factory cost. Then the example of the opening stock. Okay, this one is the cost of the goods available, the goods of available for sale, the now cost of the goods available for sale, the process during the period, opening WIP, add the gross factory cost, the treatment of the expenses from which department it relates, the treatment of the expenses, the loose tools, return of the, it is the factory overheads, haulage, commercial transport of the goods, factory overheads, and the technical expenses, administration errors, audit fee, administration overhead, carriage inwards, selling and distribution overhead, delivery when expenses, S&D overheads, cost of the samples, cost, selling and distribution cost of the sample, selling and distribution overheads, bank charges, administration overheads, counting house salary, administration overheads. Then the general expenses, admin overheads. Then the director fees, administration overheads, fees for the pollution control, factory overheads, fees for the exhibition practices, participation, S&D overheads. Now carriage for the return of the material, factory overheads. Then the estimating or drawing the office expenses, factory overheads. Then the production planning expenses of the office, admin overheads related to the production. Now interest, the share show as a separate item after the cost, and will be deducted while computing the profit. Packaging is equals to primary packaging, without it the goods cannot be sold. That is after the net factory cost. Then secondary which assist in the transport, selling and distribution overhead, the stores related to the raw material, shares of store overheads is equals to opening stores at purchases less closing stock. Then the go down warehouse related to the finished goods, all expenses related to the go down warehouse, selling and distribution overheads, bad debt, ignore, default. Then selling and distribution overheads. 23 GST, indirect taxes. Okay, and after the sales and selling prices to be covered in the seller from the consumer, then the paid ID company process. Ignore, input tax rate available, to the respective element of the cost. Now the custom duty supplied on the input. No input credit is available at the respective element of the cost. Now discount deduct from the material cost if not already deducted. It is the nature of the interest. Ignore. Then the discount on the sales or other discount selling and distribution overheads, the waste scraps, the amount is received on the sales related to the raw material, related to the reduction from the raw material consumed the arises during the production, deduct from the net factory cost default, then the scrap value for which the cost is to be incurred for its disposal cost, disposable cost is equals to factory overheads, disposable cost, factory overheads. Then defectors, the goods which are not manufactured up to the required quality, is sold as it is at discount, deduction from the net factory cost at this amount with the normal sales, then the goods are rectified by incurring the rectification cost is equals to add rectification cost to the factory overheads. Question number 1, if we see, okay, inventories. Opening stock of the raw material, then purchases of the raw material, less closing stock of the raw material, freight inward on the material, then purchase return, less purchase return भी यहाँ पर होगा. Then purchase return होने के बाद raw material consumed at direct wages, at direct labor, at direct expenses, तो total prime cost minus at factory cost, factory overheads, जिसमें कि प्लांट का डेप्रिसिएशन, बिल्डिंग डेप्रिसिएशन, इंडस्ट्री लेबर, फैक्ट्री सब फैक्ट्री सरप्लस फैक्ट्री supervisor, repair and maintenance, heat and okay, gross factory cost, तो gross factory cost में opening WIP less closing WIP net factory cost, opening stock of finished goods less closing stock of the finished goods, तो COGS, admin overheads, office appliance depreciation, building depreciation, heat, light and power rates and taxes, admin overheads, cost of the goods sold, add admin overheads, rate and taxes, office and salaries, S&D overheads, building depreciation, okay, heat, light and power, sales commission, traveling, the cost of the sales is this, then the statement of the profit अगर देखा जाए तो पर्टिकुलर सेल्स कितने का हुआ, sales return and the rebate, net sales is this, the cost of the sales is this, then the profit is this, interest on the borrowed fund is this, then the net profit is this.